Our weekly immigration news roundup is brought to you by the law firm of Figueroa and Associates. For consultation on any immigration or legal matter, please call 855-768-8845. That's 855-768-8845. For full stories and more immigration news, visit www.theimmigrantsjournal.com. That's www.theimmigrantsjournal.com.
Hello, my name is Mary Campbell, legal assistant at the law firm of Figueroa and Associates, and your presenter with this week's immigration news. We begin with concern over the Biden administration consideration of new asylum ban. According to multiple reports, the Biden administration is considering executive action to further restrict asylum eligibility at the southern border for people who cross between official ports of entry. The controversial maneuver appears to echo a 2018 Trump administration attempt to deny asylum to those who crossed between ports of entry, which was ultimately blocked by federal courts. Despite President Biden's campaign promises to restore asylum protections, his administration implemented a sweeping rule in May 2023 that presumes migrants ineligible for asylum if they enter the U.S. illegally without having sought protection in a third country. The rule remains in effect as litigation continues. Refugees and asylum seekers generate billions of dollars more than they cost the U.S. government. A report released this month by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services found that refugees and asylees have generated tens of billions of dollars more in local, state, and federal tax revenues over the last 15 years than they have cost in direct government services, ultimately representing a net fiscal gain at all levels of government. From 2005 to 2019, refugees and asylees paid a total of $123.8 billion more in taxes than they cost in government services, for a net fiscal gain of $31.5 billion to the federal government and $92.3 billion to state and local governments combined. Refugees and asylees paid an estimated $363 billion to the federal government through payroll, income, and excise taxes, and $218 billion to state and local governments through income, sales, and property taxes. Even when factoring in their spouses and children under 18, many of whom are U.S. citizens, refugees and asylees still provided a net fiscal gain, costing $723.4 billion in government services, yet paying $739.4 billion in tax revenue, for a net gain of $16 billion. Meanwhile, in New York, Governor Hochul welcomes possible Biden executive action on immigration. Governor Kathy Hochul is welcoming the prospect of President Joe Biden taking executive action on immigration. Hochul, who spoke to Spectrum News while at the White House Friday, simultaneously offered criticism of congressional Republicans. Just weeks ago, a bipartisan border deal negotiated by senators fell apart on Capitol Hill, rejected by many Republicans in both chambers. "This is a dereliction of your duty to solve problems like this," Hochul said in an interview, calling it very pathetic that the president must now turn to executive orders instead. Hochul's visit to the White House was part of the annual Governors Conference in Washington, D.C. Gov. Hochul welcomes possible Biden executive action on immigration. Brooklyn's Hall Street migrant shelter grows to 3,000, testing neighbors in Clinton Hill. Some have welcomed the influx of migrants, which now include children enrolled in nearby schools. Others have complained about an increase in trash, loitering, noise, and street activity. A massive migrant shelter and a complex of converted warehouses on Hall Street in Clinton Hill that opened last summer with no public announcement has since grown to house around 3,000 people. Officials with the city's Health Plus hospitals recently told the local community board that the 10-building complex, adjacent to Brooklyn Navy Yard, has the capacity for as many as 6,000 people in another 4 buildings on the block. While a warehouse across the street overseen by the Department of Homeless Services could house hundreds more migrant families, the quiet growth of the shelter complex in recent months has sent shockwaves across the surrounding residential neighborhoods. Local schools have taken on the sudden surge of new students, inspiring an outpouring of support. Community board meetings have bubbled up with residents raising concerns about trash, noise, and loitering. Much as it has in other neighborhoods across the political spectrum, the influx of migrants has tested and divided Clinton Hill neighbors. In other news, citizenship application fees will increase. More than 9 million legal permanent residents in the United States are eligible to apply for U.S. citizenship, but haven't done so, according to the Office of Homeland Security Statistics. Fees associated with becoming an American citizen are set to rise April 1, climbing as much as 19%, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services has announced. The cost of filing an application for naturalization form, or N-400, will go up from $640, or $725 if biometric work is needed, to $760. The price of getting a green card, the first step to citizenship, will jump too. Meanwhile, the overall price for filing the forms needed for legal permanent residency, also known as the Green Card Packet, will rise from $1,760 to $3,005. USCIS conducted a comprehensive biennial fee review and determined that current fees do not recover the full cost of providing adjudication and naturalization services. The Department of Homeland Security announcement read, DHS is adjusting the fee schedule to fully recover costs and maintain adequate service. And finally, their asylum case seems strong, but instead of hope, they feel despair. Fleeing political persecution in Guinea, a family has been evicted from a New York City homeless shelter, questioning if they should ever come. Thank you.
Our weekly immigration news roundup is brought to you by the law firm of Figueroa & Associates. For a consultation on any immigration or legal matter, please call 855-768-8845. That's 855-768-8845. For full stories and more immigration news, visit www.theimmigrantsjournal.com. That's www.theimmigrantsjournal.com.